Golden? Yeah, that's right.
All right, welcome everybody. I have just 1 minute past the hour at 5:01, so we'll go ahead and call to order and start a roll call. Looks like we have everyone except for Carrie Kelly. Right. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, and
Oh, man, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I'm James Ino.
James on up. I did. Okay. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And James. All right, we'll just mark that missing James and Kelly. Carrie Kelly. All right. Item number 2, welcome to new members. So we have new members this month going forward. So I wanted to spin our welcome to everybody and then kind of go around, introduce ourselves, starting with everybody, and then go from there. Oh,
Excuse me, maybe you grab it an agenda, is that okay?
sure, I think we have one
Or
extra.
any extras?
I think we have one, we can probably just pass around.
Thank you, Nicholas.
And I think, Carrie Kelly?
Yes.
All right, so we'll say she's here. All right, then. All right, so I'll get started with the introduction. So my name is Paul Hoisington. I've been a resident of Colorado for about 20 years now. Went to University of Colorado at Boulder. A resident of Jefferson County for, 12, 13 years of that. I lived there with my family, just kind of south of the airport, and a member of this board for, it's been almost 2 years now, right? Yeah, so 2 years now. I've been a pilot for 3 years. I fly out of this airport, and excited to be part of this advisory board and continue on this conversation with the general public, and the board staff and the county board. So we'll just.
Okay, we'll go down. the-
Yeah, we'll just go around the.
Okay. Barbara Adams, doctorate in neuroscience, and pilot, and currently starting to fly helicopters, which I love. I do a lot of space things, Civil Air Patrol, a lot of CAP things. I talk about space and flying in space and Mars and all that good stuff. And I've been on the board for a year plus now, and I love it.
Hi, I'm Bob Pfeiffer. I'm Arvada City Council. That's my night job. I've been doing that for about 14 years. I think I'm the longest standing elected official in Jefferson County now. I represent West Arvada, so directly is, maybe indirectly or directly, it depends who says what. The airport's involved, with flying over and so forth. So my day job is with CDOT. I run operations for CDOT statewide. So I'm responsible for everything from emergency management to traffic operations. I was a little late because little traffic issues, to avalanche and explosives teams, and you name it, all the fun jazzy things that we do that you don't think we do. So that's what I do during the day. I just make sure things move. And I work with Dave V. Lane, if anyone knows who he is. He's up here in the team with me. And I would like to be a pilot. My wife did give me a Father's Day gift to go fly, and I flew with a 17-year-old instructor.
Perfect.
And I'll share, I'll digress. I walked out there and they're like, I'm here to see the instructor, and I'm like, well, that's me. And I'm like, I'm not sure this is a good idea, that unless my wife wants my insurance or what. But got in a plane, had a fantastic experience. The kid let me fly really on my own, everything, and even landed my first try and everything else, and trusted me. And then I said, you know what, I'll sign up, do the rest of the lessons. He says, well, I said, only with him, because I was impressed with this kid. And he said, nope, because tomorrow I graduate and I'll be 18 and I'm gonna be flying jets down in Florida. So for a private company, it says, well, then I'm not signing up, I'm not gonna have him as my instructor. So I went from a critic to a fan within a couple hours. That's crazy.
Perfect.
Well, welcome to all our new board members. My name is John Camper. retired a couple years ago from a 42-year career in law enforcement. Been flying about 40 years, mostly out of Jeffco or Rocky Mountain Metro, on and off over the years, and been on the board for a little over a year as well. So, welcome.
And my name's Jim Wood. This is, I was briefly on the board about a year and a half ago for 6 or 8 months. I can't remember how long. I got my pilot's license in 1977 and learned to fly in Boulder, and have been flying out of this airport and based out of this airport pretty much since then. I'm like John, I'm retired. I highly recommend that career path if you can swing it, because it's pretty glorious. So, yeah, glad to be back.
Right. I'm Greg Boom, and I own Rocky Mountain Flight School, Mountain Air Aviation, and a bunch of airplanes. I started flying in 1982 out of this airport, started working as a mechanic in 1988, and enjoy it. And I've got all my ratings, CFI, MEI, II, and I enjoy flying, enjoy working on the airplanes. So, and I enjoy being on this board.
Hi, everybody. Carrie Kelly. I am the new president and CEO of Jeffco EDC. So I'm the new Jansen. And I'm very excited to be here. I always say close to 15, but I think it's actually closer to 20 now, years of sort of economic development experience. But I got started working in municipal representation in Indiana, worked pretty closely with the airport there. And then also in Arizona up in Kingman from a sort of business development side. I worked at the community college there and worked in economic development as well. So I've worked from a business attraction side and sort of development as well. So I'm excited to be here. We are really looking forward to doing anything we can to support the airport and any kind of development and that sort of thing. I come from a sort of a history of doing marketing and business attraction, most recently just working with the Site Selectors Guild. So a lot of great contacts to have and hopefully bring into Colorado. Just moving here, originally from Indiana, but just moving here from Arizona. So hopefully I'll get to bring some different perspectives in that way from different regions that we worked with. Thanks.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. It's exciting to have a full board and some fresh new faces and hopefully some good new perspectives. So perfect. All right. Moving on to item number 3, approval of minutes. I know those were sent out via email, so I'll take a motion to approve those.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's been approved. Perfect. All right, I'm for public comments. We'll open up to public comments. We'll start in the room and then move online if we have any. And then it'll be 3 minutes per speaker. If you start to run close, I'll give you a little wave or something like that. And then 30 minutes maximum overall. So we have the list. Oh. Perfect. All right, thank you. All right, we have, I'm really bad at reading handwriting, so I think Jim?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Goldfarb. I reside at 104 Patero Drive, Boulder. I live in the Spanish Hills subdivision and a member of the Spanish Hills Homeowners Association. And listening to the credentials of all of you, I'm very impressed by what you bring to the board, and you obviously have a strong passion for being part of this board. I moved into our home January of 1988, and until this July, my relationship with the airport was very negligible. I'm a retired trial lawyer. I actually represented a gentleman by the name of Jerry Nolan, who you may remember, who had a hangar out here. And otherwise, I thought we were good neighbors to one another. Unfortunately, in July, you changed your flight path. And since that time, my relationship with the airport has changed dramatically. The airport has become a significant nuisance to me, my neighbors, and extended neighbors. And we experience noise from low-flying single and double-engine private aircraft from dawn until into the evening. And it has substantially and significantly impacted our enjoyment of life and probably the value of our property. It has, I've contacted Brandon, I've written letters, we've contacted other individuals, and the only response we get is that it's the FAA. They made the decision to change the flight pattern, there's nothing that can be done about it. But I would like to know how the FAA came to this decision. The FAA is not an AI entity, it's a board with human beings on it. So somebody made the recommendation to change the flight pattern. Somebody at the airport must have been involved, someone on this board or Brandon or somebody else must have been involved in the decision. And we would like to know why the change was made, what was done before the change was made, why there was no one seeking input from your neighbors as to this change, and what can be done about it because it is such a substantial impact on us. Prior to July, the flight patterns went over real estate and property where the individuals who own that property moved to that location, knowing the airport was going to have flights over their neighborhood. In fact, it's in their deeds. It is in effect a waiver on their part that they cannot sue anybody because of noise disturbance.
1 minute.
Sure, thank you. I didn't sign that type of waiver because it wasn't necessary to sign that type of waiver. As a retired attorney, I'm well aware of the fact that if you move next to a nuisance, you can't complain about the nuisance. In this instance, I believe the airport has moved next to me and created a nuisance that did not exist. So I'm here asking, what can this board do, if anything, to help us resolve this problem? Is there some, my goal isn't to shut the airport down. My goal is to see if we can still be good neighbors and cooperate with one another and see if there's some way to abate the nuisance that the airport has brought to my neighborhood.
Hey, can I ask a clarifying question? Where is Spanish Hills?
Spanish Hills is on South Boulder Road. If you're familiar with the community,
Yeah.
you go up McCaslin, you make a left on
Yeah.
South Boulder Road, you go
South
past
Boulder Road.
76th, and we're the next left
Okay,
hand turn. And it's my understanding, this is what I've been told, I don't know if it's true, that pilots are told, I've heard two things. One, go to the Costco and turn right, in which case they fly right over our house. Or what I heard more recently was that go to the smokestacks out by the reservoir, and which takes us right over.
Okay.
And that did not happen for 37 years.
okay, cool. Thanks. I just didn't know where it was. Thank you, Jim.
All right, next we have Rick.
Thank you. My name is Rick Cables. I live in Spanish Hills as well. And have the same issue that Jim just articulated. Just out of the blue, I think it was first part of July, 6 a.m, planes are flying over. We never had that noise, never had that issue. We're totally blindsided, had no ability to consult, we weren't consulted. We were just kind of in the dark as well. What happened? What changed? I spent a career in the U.S. Forest Service, and in 2001, 2001, I was regional forester here for the Rocky Mountain region when we expanded the air base, the tanker base for fire suppression here at Jeffco, it was called then. And I have no problem with the airport. I don't care if air tankers fly over my property because they're going to a fire. I mean, that's fine. But the perpetual noise and distraction of these small planes is, as Jim says, is not only just changed the whole flavor of Spanish Hills, which is a very quiet neighborhood, but it's also likely affected our property values in a negative way. And I've read the lawsuit with Rock Creek. I've read the situation where they acknowledged that they were gonna move into a property that was gonna be in a flight path. They knew it, they did it knowingly. And I know that the airport lost the lawsuit, or Jefferson County, because of changes in the limitations that were part of that that easement. But the difference is they knew they were moving into an airport flight path. We have never known that. We weren't when we moved in there. I've been there since 2004. No due process whatsoever for the residents that live over there. And it's not just Spanish Hills. There's multiple subdivisions that we're talking to the residents to try to have some recourse to change this. And we don't want to be adversarial with you guys. We don't. But we would like your help in enabling us to have due process, and while we're getting due process, put the flight pattern back where it was. So we can be consulted like we should be as citizens and property owners. I can't believe that an easement was actually granted. And in the easement, it talks about the property owners, the airspace they owned above their property, and that it required something that formal when Rock Creek was approved, an agreement with Jefferson County, that there would be that level of formality then. And now there's absolutely no consultation with the neighbors affected. Zero.
Ricky had one thought.
Okay. So, you know, I didn't know the format here as far as like questions and answers and the protocol. But, you know, I'm just curious about, like Jim, what role did Rocky Mountain Airport or Jeffco play in this change with the FAA? The FAA just doesn't wake up one day and say, we're going to change the flight pattern. I mean, and there's an indication that it has a safety, it's related to safety. Well, what does that mean? What is the safety consideration? What changed that created a safety problem? Was it the flight pattern or the amount of aircraft coming from this airport? So anyway, we're kind of here as our initial meeting, but I'll tell you, we're going to have a lot of persistence in this. We're going to go to Jefferson County Board of Commissioners. We are not going to go away on this issue until we get some answers, and more importantly, due process, so that we can play a role in a decision of this magnitude that affects our property.
Thank you.
So thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it.
All right, it looks like that is everybody on the list here. Do we have anyone online?
Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson.
All right, Mr. Johnson, I'm unmuting you. Hopefully you can unmute yourself too.
Oh,
Yes.
Randy, can you hear us?
okay. I think I got you again.
We can hear you now,
Okay.
Randy.
Yeah, if you don't say anything, I don't know, and I start hitting buttons. Hi, thank you. I'm Randy Johnson from Levere's, because I know there's new people in the room. I live south of Chatfield, and how Rocky Mountain airplanes affect me. They fly south to Colorado Springs and Pueblo and Meadow Lake, and then fly back to the north. I also live by the new Southwest training area, although it's been this way for about 3 years now. The Southwest training area, at least down in this area, was over Chatfield, and they moved it down south, and now there's a Levere's training area in south. So there's now a training area right by me. Most of the Rocky Mountain planes don't come to the training area south. They were and doing maneuvers directly overhead, and I would submit complaints, and I think they've now have moved a little bit further north. What I do normally is I write down the airplanes I hear, not necessarily that they did anything wrong, but that I hear. And now I'm writing down mostly training airplanes, so I'll go my numbers. This month or September, I wrote down 586 training airplanes that you went by. That's Centennial Airport, Air Force Academy, ones, from the flight schools, south. I think there's in Colorado Springs, now to Meadow Lake. So there's multiple. My highest day was September 18th. Thursday, I wrote down 42. And my lowest day was September 23rd, Tuesday, which was the cloudy, foggy day. I wrote down 1, and it happened to be from Rocky Mountain, and it was going south. The number of claims I submitted, I'm going to say approximately 70 complaints to Centennial Airport. I think many of the planes, watching them, they were turning and flying directly over. I think Centennial is addressing that. I submitted 19 this time to Rocky Mountain, where in the past I was in the less than 10 range. And I think what was happening is I know what was happening. They were flying lower. They weren't low. They were lower and faster, so they were louder. So that was more just to let you know. And I think that's been addressed. I think that I now see them flying, higher, and a little slower. And I think they're trying to be good. I want to mention that. I see that. And one thing to note is that, and they're spread out also, so that not every plane, from Rocky Mountain is flying directly over. They're flying east and west. I can still hear them, but they're not directly over. So that's one thing mentioned, which may help up north is, if they can spread out their pattern a little bit, so not, one subdivision will be getting, every plane coming over, which is very, very noticeable. So I think that's all I have. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Randy. We got one more. All right, and then one more online.
All right, Patrice Stout, I am unmuting you. You might have to unmute yourself on your end as well.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Patrice Stout, and I live on Wewoka Drive, which is part of Fairview Estates. It's right off of 76th, between Baseline and South Boulder Road. I just want to reiterate what the gentleman from Spanish Hills said. We've lived here for 11 years. I've lived in Colorado for 24. I've never experienced the amount of disruption and noise that I do on a daily basis from RMMA now, especially since you moved the flight pattern. It's directly over our house. I've clocked the decibels at a plane that's not even directly over our house at 93. Hearing loss starts at 70. It's very concerning to me that we were not included in the process, like the gentleman said before me. It has decreased the quality of life living here. It was a quiet place to be. I do have livestock that it affects. They do not like the sound. It's miserable to be outside, quite honestly, because we get hammered one after another, after another, after another. There is no respite from the noise and the sound and the decibels and the planes. And frankly, it's unbearable. You aren't a very good neighbor. I did not move next to your airport. Like the other gentleman said, you moved next to me. You brought the noise to my space, and I have not known peace since July and even before. It is, I am adversarial at this point. I don't know how. I feel like we need to be heard on a bigger level. You need to involve us on a bigger level. Yeah, it starts before 6 a.m. It wakes me up in the morning, and I still hear you at 11 o'clock at night. It's just miserable how loud it is and how constant it is. And I'm looking to you to be fair, to be equitable to the people that you constantly fly over. Like the gentleman before me said, maybe you can spread it out. Maybe we need to go back. There was a process with the FAA, and we need to go back and figure out what would be more just and more equitable to everyone that lives not even close to your airport, but is under the direct noise of the flights and the lead and the, like you said, I'm worried about my property value, and I'm worried about hearing loss. I'm worried about the livestock. There has to be some relief on your end. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. All right,
Can
any,
I ask a question? I know that statutorily, but this is always awkward because it seems like we're being unresponsive, and statutorily, we're not supposed to engage in a conversation in this meeting back and forth about it, but I do think it might be helpful to hear a little bit about our understanding of that flight pattern change. It's my understanding that that really was pretty unilaterally the FAA. I know I was out here one day and was directed to, take off on 30 and fly directly to Costco. I had no idea where Costco was. I do now. And it did seem like a bit of a surprise, and I have to assume it was a surprise to airport staff as well. And so I guess I'm not trying to be defensive in any way, but I do think that this really was pretty much the FAA being unilateral about it. I don't know if it was safety concerns, probably on noise issues, because they've never seemed terribly concerned about that when we raise concerns. But is there any, Eric or Ben, is there any just additional information or confirming information that you could help with, at least to frame this a little bit for now?
and I do think we have an update in airport communications.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that I think will address
Oh,
all
do we?
those questions, and then we can have an open forum of feedback.
Okay,
If
very
you
good.
want to wait till then.
Tonight?
Yes,
Okay.
tonight. We'll see item 4.
Okay,
The agenda, huh?
All right, any other public comment, Ben? That's it. All right, well, this concludes, public comment. Thank you, everyone. We'll move on to business items. I think we can start with A. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Scott, you want to come up? Introduce yourself and where you work and all that fun stuff?
That would be fancy, but no. Fair, and actually, where to go? So now we had 2 screens going.
same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone was there. Put a marker.
Well, now it's Home Depot,
Oh,
which is across the street.
so,
Yeah.
You're breaking.
of course, everybody knows where the stacks are.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I have that on here too. Like, it's just.
Yeah.
No, I thought it's that. Why not?
They're mirroring.
Oh, the PowerPoint, go back to your screen, or your settings. Well, I want them to be mirrored.
So that's.
This one's a really funny thing,
They're
related.
trying to stay on the glider box. Like, rather than stack. That's why they eliminated stack.
It's really odd. Well, we'll do it the manual way, yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of technical difficulties, but yeah, we'll work through this.
We go like this. It works. Okay, you can go to the next one.
I know it's smaller, yeah.
Okay, my name is Scott Hedrick. I work for the United States Forest Service. I work at the Rocky Mountain Regional Office. I am based here at the Regional Hangar. I've been with the Forest Service for going on 20 years. Prior to my current job, as a fixed wing operations specialist and as the acting regional aviation safety officer, I was the forest aviation officer on the Rapport Roosevelt and Medicine Mill Route National Forests. And prior to that, I was the air tanker base manager at Jeffco from 2017 to 2021. Just for a little bit, here in the Rocky Mountain region, we're headquartered here in Lakewood. We cover Colorado, Wyoming, part of Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas is our region. So me as a regional employee, I support aviation operations in those 5 states. So a little bit about what we have here at Rocky Mount Metropolitan Airport. Over on Corporate Way, kind of next to the NCAR hangar, is where our regional aviation hangar is located. There we host 3 air attack platforms. That's their contract host base. We don't typically see them because we move them around the region and around the country. But if they are hosted here or not needed elsewhere, this is their host base. Those are all contract provided. We do then have a Kodiak aircraft that's based here. We use that for multitude of resource management missions. That can be forest health, that can be fire suppression, air attack, that can be moving cargo, firefighters, researchers around the state, or around the states. Then we also host a King Air 200. That is on a 365-day contract, and that we use for lead plane. So lead plane operations are tied in with fire suppression and our air tankers. So we always try to put lead planes with air tankers. They provide another margin of safety for our aerial firefighters. So then we have the Jeffco Air Base. It used to be called the Jeffco Air Tanker Base. We're calling it the Jeffco Air Base now. Its kind of mission set has evolved over the last 2 or 3, 4 years. That was started in 1973. It's got a full facility there for firefighters, pilots, things of that nature, and crew. And then we host the Northern Colorado Heli-TAC program out of there. We'll cover a little bit more of that in a minute. So prior to this year, we utilized it primarily as an air tanker base. It hosts retardant system there. On any given day, we can have on hand about 192,000 gallons of fire retardant that we're able to load into 3,000 to 4,000 gallon air tankers. On a given busy day, we can do about 20,000 gallons an hour. The most I ever did out of there was about 120,000 in a day, and I don't really remember much of that day. So what we've done now is we've taken that retardant system that we primarily use for air tankers, and we've converted it over to Type 1 helicopters, CH-47s, Sky Cranes, and Blackhawks. So now the Northern Colorado Heli-TAC program is still housed there. This is one of our key aviation facilities in the region. And since we're not primarily using it for air tankers as much now, and we're switching it over to into a more of a helicopter facility, this gives us a lot of room to grow and add some additional helicopters to be based there. We're already looking at adding an additional Sky Crane to put there next year on top of the Sky Crane that's already housed there. So on our Type 3 program, we utilize a contract with an A-Star B3. That's a 15-person firefighting crew. They're housed here, but then we move them around the region and the country as that asset is needed. Then we also housed a Type 1 helicopter there. This year, it was the start of a new contract for us. It was a CH-54. It's a nice air crane that kind of got reworked. Some new blades on it. It's really capable for fire suppression in the Rocky Mountain region. So what we did is we paired that with another contract out of Rifle, Colorado, and we paired that together with another A-Star from Arizona, and we turned it into what we call Operation Skyhammer, which I've got a video on that going forward. But we're now, since we've converted our retardant systems over to a new type of product, we're now putting the retardant right on the helicopters. And then we can do it either out of here, or we can move this platform around the region and around the country as needed. Being able to host it here is giving us this is a game changer. This is something that's not been done before. Really, South Ops in Southern California has tried it a little bit, but this is a new platform and a new tool for us, and its trial run this year was incredibly successful. It didn't spend much time here. It got moved to the western slope pretty quick. But this Rocky Mount Metro and the Jeffco Air Base it's a key hub for us with this new program going forward. Just due to its central location within the geographic area. And then we'll play our video on. Fingers crossed. Guess that's our presentation. So I'd like to open up to questions for the group.
Perfect. Yeah. Any questions?
Don't think so. Great work.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Yeah, I mean, from the agency perspective, we can't stress enough how important the airport has been to us, whether it's my time as the air tanker base manager, or my time as a fixed wing ops specialist now. The Jeffco Air Base is going to be our home for a while. We don't intend to move. You guys have been good tenants and neighbors with us. We hope to continue to be that with you. And this, you know, as we transition between fixed wing over to rotor wing, this base still gives us prime real estate, prime ability to grow our helicopter program there and continue to provide quick initial attack and large fire suppression across the front range. And the key thing they hit on there is we're not just here to suppress fire on Forest Service land. We're here for the members of Boulder County, Gilpin County, Clear Creek, Larimer, state of Colorado, Jefferson County. Does not matter where the fire starts, but our aviation assets are there across the board.
Do you offer opportunities for the people to come visit in person, see the operations in
Yeah,
person?
if the aircraft are there, typically, I mean, we're always willing. You can always call down there first. Our phone number's there, or come down to the gate and buzz in and see. Sometimes we're just not able to. Like right now, we're not due to the government shutdown. We're kind of very limiting our interaction. But just depending on the day, who's there and what's available. Yeah, come check them out.
Okay, cool.
They're full aircraft.
All right, well, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
All right, moving on. Snow and ice control. From fire to ice.
Oh, nice.
I think it's
I had to make that joke.
That was good.
yours is working. Good, okay. All right, so I know it's nice and sunny outside right now, but this is about the time of the year where we do all of our snow and ice control plan training and dissemination. Today, actually, our operations folks and our maintenance folks were out learning about snow and ice control. And you may have seen them out on the apron driving around cones and stuff to do some rodeo and to kind of make sure they could drive safely between the cones and learn how to navigate some of those, I don't know, they're like 60-foot long brooms. So they're not short, they're not small, they're pretty big. But the snow control plan is our way of ensuring the airport can meet our demands for snow removal during the winter. The entire plan is in your packet, but we'll go through some quick notes here as part of the presentation. It has a number of different things it has to include between the prompt removal of snow as quickly as practical. We like to think of snow removal for the airport as being no worse than wet. So when you're doing snow removal, we can't make it not wet, but we can certainly try to remove the ice, snow, slush, and things like that. We have to make sure that we're removing snow off moving areas that are used by air carriers. We don't have an air carrier at the airport. So that's not necessarily a big concern for us, but we still have to make sure the airport is clear of any snow and debris as quickly as we can. About 2 hours is what we're limited to try to clear the airfield. We have to determine in our snow plan what kind of chemicals we're using. We use kind of a brine solution. There's no salt used on an airfield, so all of the aircraft are not exposed to like the rust contaminants that you'd find in like a car. We have to be timely, like I said, about 2 hours, and then we use the NOTAM system to disseminate kind of what our field conditions look like at any given time. Next slide, please. So that condition reporting, like I said, you have to check NOTAMs, and sometimes if the snow event is pretty large, there could be a lot of NOTAMs. And so we can inundate the NOTAM system. We try to make sure that we issue NOTAMs for specific areas when possible, but you should use that address to track what conditions are actually out there. Next slide. So, like I said, this doesn't seem like a day you'd be talking about snow, but mid-October through mid-May is our snow season. We started with today, and normally snow removal will start with about a 1/4 inch of snow or any snow that we have that might be freezing rain. And depending on the weight of that snow and slush, we may have to respond sooner or later, depending on what that is. But we use the brooms as our primary method of mechanically moving the snow. We don't use plows to displace. The goal is to try to brush it off and clean the surface to no worse than wet. We do focus on the primary, 1-2 left, 3-0 right, and then those arterial taxiways to the apron so we have our access. And if we can, we'll try to keep the secondary runway open, but primarily we're focusing on the primary runway. Next slide. Here's a map just kind of showing color-coded of what our priorities look like. Purple on that map is the primary runway and the primary apron force. As you can see, we're focusing on the airport's apron with the airport fire room rescue trucks, and then some of the arterials, and then the primary runway. Secondary, we're focusing on the secondary runway, 1-2 right, 3-0 left, and its connectors. And then at the end of an event, generally when snow is actually stopped, is when we'll start doing the ramps or aprons. So think of it as primary, its connectors, the secondary, and then aprons. The ramps, aprons are last. And we don't clear private leaseholds unless we're contracted to do so. So like some of the FBOs will contract with us, and then they pay us to clear their apron rather than them hiring a private contractor. But that's it. Next slide. For the equipment, we have Ops 9 and Ops 7, which are pickup trucks on the airfield. They have the continuous friction measuring equipment, or the CFMEs. It's like a wheel that tows behind the vehicle. It tells us what the friction is like for the car. We also have lasers and things we can use to detect snow. We mentioned that the other day, Bob, but we did check. That is not approved for FAA use, though.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, that's why we have to use the CFME, because the CFME is the approved method for the FAA to do friction measurement on the runway. We have loaders, which basically are big loaders with plows that move snow, plows for displacing it, brooms to clean that surface, and the blowers to relocate snow. Some of our blowers are just as big, mainly as that broom. That broom looks small in that picture, but as you can see them on the apron, they're pretty long, about 60 some feet long. Next slide. That's generally an overview of the snow control plan. The whole entire plan is located in your plan. It's part of our airport certification manual for part 139. But I can try to answer any questions you might have about it. Otherwise, that's it.
Any questions?
I have a statement, just impressed with a small crew with what you do. Keep it up, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, if it's bad enough, if the weather's heavy enough, like people that don't normally remove snow will remove snow where they can. Ben's been known to hop in a loader and clear parking lots when he can. Yeah, so we try to take it as seriously as we can, like we take everything else here, and making sure that we can keep the airfield as safe as possible.
You guys hire some seasonal folks. don't you?
So we try to hire 6. I know Chris Nicholas, who's head of our operations here for the airport. He worked with Sydney on advertising for those positions this year. They got probably more applicants than they normally have. But it's a difficult process to hire those individuals. You never know how many hours they're going to have. So it's definitely that retirement gig. But we do hire seasonals to help clear the apron in the airport when we
Who said anything about working during retirement? You're confusing me, Art.
Didn't you just say you want to work during retirement? But yeah, that's generally it. We do have some part-timers, but generally it is about 12 individuals or so who manage all the snow removal for the airport.
No, perfect. All right. Moving on to airport updates.
And if you're bored, you can read all that.
Speed read. Did actually go.
I did.
There we go. All right, moving on to project updates, the taxiway Kilo construction, taxiway Delta reconstruction project is ongoing. A lot of the first phase of work involved utilities along Calendar Drive, so lowering city and county of Broomfield water and sewer, and doing a lot of subgrade preparation on taxiway Delta and for the new taxiway Kilo. So that work's been ongoing. We're about to move into a section of paving for taxiway Delta. And then kind of the big news on this project is we're probably gonna have to discuss whether there will be a winter shutdown, and if so, when. And then when we pick it up back in the spring, because the particular asphalt mix you need for airport pavement is probably not being produced past late October this year. So it'll be a tricky decision for the project team in terms of how many chunks can we bite off before we need to not risk having kind of a prepped subgrade just sitting out all winter long. So if you're a user of the airfield, just keep paying attention to those NOTAMs in terms of airfield impacts, and we'll keep updating you. And then currently, if you're ever out there on that side of the field, you might have seen posts start going up, but our fence project that's going to contain the southwest development area has started construction as well. Any questions on that one? Unleaded fuel transition. Here's some fairly recent pictures of the digging for the footings for the new tank going in the bulk fuel facility. And then there's also some conduit that needs to be run to our shed to provide the power for that new tank. The tank's being fabricated in Florida, and we're still kind of waiting confirmation on final shipping time and when that might be operational. But we still think before the end of the year is very achievable. And we'll keep you updated on this one as well. We did finalize a contract with Shelter Air Aviation to be the provider of fuel for unleaded. We think it'll be UL 94 to start with. And that was approved by the Jeffco BCC on September 30th. And actually, I got the signature from Shelter today. So we're hopefully official there. And they have ordered a new truck to start using to be ready to pump fuel to aircraft here when we get the tank and the fuel ordered. Questions there? Part 150 airport noise compatibility study. We have received an operations forecast from RSNH, and so we're reviewing that and providing comments, and we hope to be able to preview that with you all next airport advisory board meeting in November. So that's kind of the next substantive work product out of this study.
That's kind of an interesting way how you look at, how you predict aircraft operations going forward. It's not an easy thing to predict. And then concurrently, the consultant's working on that final land use map, and those two lead into the development of noise exposure maps, which concludes the first phase of the study, which is probably going to occur sometime in 2026 at this point. More information is available on the website. And I'll hand it over to Sydney for communications.
Okay, so obviously we've been talking about the flight paths, so this is just kind of an overview and some updates just for the board. So there was the FOIA release and media coverage. So an internal FAA memo dated May and June were obtained through FOIA requests, and those referenced RMMA as leading in potentially significant events, or PSEs. Again, this was an internal memo from FAA to FAA. It was not to the airport, was not from the airport. The internal email acknowledged that the FAA had received noise complaints, and that FOIA, which included all of those memos from the FAA to the FAA, was sent to media over the last 2 or 3 weeks by different community members. There was community and public interest regarding that FOIA request and those memos, and those concerns centered on both safety and noise impacts. As the airport, our response, we issued an official statement to all media that reached out, reaffirming that safety is our top priority. We clarified that we do not have authority over flight paths, altitude, or ATC procedures. We clarified that we were not informed ahead of the flight paths being changed. And we clarified that we were not part of the conversation as the flight paths were changed. We emphasized transparency, ongoing community engagement, and consistent communication. And we directed all FAA-related inquiries back to the FAA. At our open town hall last quarter, we had shared with the board that we developed a letter that community members could write to the FAA, and I would mail those. I'm continuing to do so because at this point, we still have not heard an official statement from the FAA. Our commitment to this board going forward is that we will work to inform you of significant news items, and just as always, continuing to foster trust, transparency, and proactive communication with our stakeholders and community members. That is that. So questions there?
Did that answer your questions? I mean, John, that you were respectfully curious.
It confirms what, yeah, I think we all thought. I think just from a community interaction perspective, it's you know, it's unfortunate. I mean, we're on the front lines of these issues, yet you know, the FAA just kind of washes their hands of any community interaction, and leaves you guys to flap in the breeze and deal with this stuff. And it's unfortunate, I think. You know, I'm just concerned. They're very unresponsive. It's unfortunate. Of course, right now, in the middle of the federal shutdown, it's a whole different ballgame. But even under ordinary circumstances, to my knowledge, we still haven't heard a response on the request to raise the pattern altitude, right?
So the request from the FAA was that they were supportive of us making the request. We submitted the airspace analysis for them to do that. It is still pending review.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I guess I would just say for community members, it's not, from our perspective, we're not trying to wash our hands of this. I think we share your concerns. But I think it's important that you be aware that they haven't been any more open with airport management than they have with the community either.
Or the pilots.
Or the pilots.
I
As I
mean-
said, I was out flying and told to fly to Costco. It's like,
Where else
the
does?
Costco I go to is at Quincy and Wadsworth.
Yeah.
And Aaron, can you expand on I think the second point you had up there was around flight paths. Where does kind of the airport operations, where does your authority end versus ATC begin?
Well, I mean, from a practical level, we really don't have much authority over the runways themselves. So like if you're an aircraft and you're a pilot and you're talking to air traffic control on ground frequency, which would be like the frequency that pilots talk to the tower when they're on the ground and not on the runway, At that point in time, the airport doesn't really have any control over those pilots or the FAA. They are in control of that from the moment that plane calls them to the moment in time that plane may or may not call the FAA back and say, okay, I've landed, I'm good. So like, we certainly don't have any control over what happens in the air. In this case, the FAA did not tell us or include the community in any communication about flight change. We did not have any advance notice that it was going to change, and it was kind of like oh, here it is. So like, it was a pretty frustrating experience for us too, especially with, the fact that we always understood that the FAA would engage all users when they were going to change flight paths. So like, it took us by surprise that they did that. That we don't have that kind of control, and we certainly weren't part of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was sort of, around that question, but it sounds like before, there was notification of like different flight paths, and this one's just been completely different. Is that the case, or?
I suppose the FAA, I can't speak for the FAA. It's always dangerous when you assume the role is speaking for them. And unfortunately, they kind of put me in that box. The FAA would say that the new flight paths are working for them in a way that they would increase safety. Beforehand, they would say that maybe it was less. But in this case, they're perfectly content with what they understand as the flight path being. They've not said that to me directly. We have not yet received a formal notification from the FAA about what or why. That request was made to them. But yeah, I cannot with any authority tell you what the FAA is thinking.
We're just at the point of just trying to read their minds, right? I mean, basically, I think the previous flight paths were, you were, let's say we're gonna depart the northwest runway, you're cleared to depart 30 right, cleared northbound. So you would turn at any point you felt safe to go northbound, which kind of disperses the traffic, right? And I don't think there was any dark room in the FAA where they said, hey, let's screw with Spanish Hills. Or I don't think they're doing it. I think what they're really trying to do is say, because you got southbound traffic obviously coming in. So rather than have head-on traffic,
which they're sending down to.
they said, let's put the coming inbound traffic over Highway 287 and the outbound traffic more west. So we had more of a corridor going in and out, which seems to make reasonable sense rather than a free-for-all. Let's have a divided highway, if you will. And then their first waypoint was the Boulder Stacks. That's on the charts, the FAA public charts. And then I think after a few iterations, I don't know if it was days or weeks, you probably know more than me, huh, Greg? But it was like, okay, the Boulder Stacks is right in the glider box for the Boulder Airport. So let's not send all the planes to where the gliders are. So they moved it to the Costco. And you and I were in the same boat. Where the hell's the Costco? And then they would tell you if you asked them what heading to fly. And then they changed it recently to the Home Depot, which is across the street from the Costco. So I don't know we're all reading minds is my point. Is we're just saying, the heck they do that for? But that's where we're at now, I think, right?
And this, I think it was Jim that said that, somewhere there was a room where they discussed this, and I agree. I don't think they were trying to pick on any one neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm sure, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it was for safety reasons and developing some corridors, which probably makes some good sense, but at some point, there's a discussion that took place, and it's astounding to me that it wouldn't occur to them to pull in people from the airport, the advisory board, the neighborhoods affected. I mean,
And the other thing, the reason it's Home Depot and not, I don't know, hygiene or something like that is because the tower only controls a 5 mile radius.
Yeah.
And Home Depot is pretty close to the 5 miles, and it's like after that, guys are going, we don't control you anymore, I think. And again, I'm just reading mine, so sorry if this is more.
The danger is speaking for the FAA.
I know, I'm just saying, I don't know, I have no idea, but, so anyhow.
So you've got that issue, but then it sounds like the internal memo about incidents and the high preponderance of incidents is almost two separate things, or are they intermingled somewhat?
You would probably have to discuss that with the FAA, because We have not had any answer about what a potentially significant event is or is not, or what components make it up. Rumor and speculation be damned, it would be inappropriate for me to tell you what that is. I don't know. They've never told me. We've asked, clarify, and they have not.
Okay. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the open discussion of it, especially, in front of our concerned community members. I think that that's helpful. So,
We appreciate it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have a definite date for your next meeting? This may be like answering particular weather, but
Well,
would,
we should,
maybe you'll know something by the next meeting or.
we should know our next meeting date here in probably the next 5-10 minutes. It's probably the 12th. And we'll finalize the agenda before then, so I'm not quite sure.
November 12th,
Yeah.
you typically do 5 o'clock.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, we have a new logo for our MMA. It looks very similar to our old logo, but this is now accessible. So we are meeting all accessibility standards. There's a few differences. The purple is a little different. There's no gradient on the gray mountains. It's just gray, and then the font's a little bit bigger size. So that is the reason for the change, is to make sure that we're meeting accessibility standards, but we showed staff today. We're in the process of changing it everywhere that our logo lives. If you need a copy of that, please let me know. I will send it to you, but here she is in all her glory.
that's good.
A tri-pacer.
I didn't think you'd heard that. Sorry.
And then again, our fall carnival is next Saturday. We're very excited. Like I said, I think at last month's meeting, it's geared toward kiddos, but anyone is welcome. We're doing free pumpkin painting, free root beer floats. There'll be a raffle. You can look at planes in our fire truck, and then a paper airplane contest. So next Saturday, October 18th, 10 to 2 p.m. right here at the RMMA terminal. That's what I got.
So for updates. All right, any questions?
Yeah, for the carnival, are you hoping to bring in more, static display of aircraft?
I would have you reach out to Emily. She said you guys are maybe talking later this week.
Yeah.
She'll be the best one. She's coordinating the planes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I assume the Forest Service is going to be there?
No.
I assumed
We're not
incorrect.
getting paid.
That's right.
No comment. No, all of our aircraft will be probably out this morning. They're making their way into winter maintenance.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, has the shutdown impacted any tower operations here as yet?
We have not been informed of any shutdown related issues at the tower. We know that they were short-staffed prior to the shutdown. As far as I know, that's the status quo.
All right. Setting the next meeting, I tentatively have the 12th. Is that right?
Sounds right.
All right. Does the 12th work for everybody?
I'll be remote. I'll be in DC.
And I'll probably be remote as well.
Mine might
Getting a new
be
knee.
tentative too, so I was hoping John would be here to take over for me, but
Well, I can do it but remote. And I may get here. I'm just having a knee replacement. Well, I may hobble in.
Yeah.
It will be a good meeting.
It's right now shaping up to be maybe a long one. So, not that I want to scare you away, but it will be very informative.
I think we should reschedule them.
yeah, I don't know if I'll be here for that one. But no, we can keep it to 12th and then we'll figure it out. I think that works. If people will be remote, then we'll have a quorum.
You said you'd be remote or you wouldn't be attending at all?
No, I'll be remote. I'll just be in DC.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Someone?
Second. All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, it's closed at 6:05.